Please, sir, just the leftovers. Anything you don't want." The words hung in the air like a prayer. A pregnant woman stood at the edge of a beautiful garden restaurant, her hand gently resting on her swollen belly. Across from her sat a man in an expensive suit, frozen with his fork halfway to his mouth. What happened next would change both their lives forever, but not in the way you think. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon in the heart of Manhattan, the kind of day where rich people sat in fancy garden restaurants, eating meals that cost more than most people made in a week. Marcus Wellington was one of those rich people. Actually, he wasn't just rich. He was a billionaire. His company made computer programs that millions of people used every single day. He wore a suit that cost $5,000 and shoes that cost more than a used car. But right now, Marcus wasn't thinking about his money or his company. He was staring at the woman who had just interrupted his lunch. Her name was Sarah. She was 24 years old and 7 months pregnant. Her clothes were old and dirty. Her shoes had holes in them. Her face looked tired, like she hadn't slept in days. But her eyes were strong, determined, full of hope even though life had been so hard. "Excuse me?" Marcus said, not sure he had heard correctly. "What did you say?" Sarah took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking, but she spoke clearly. "I'm so sorry to bother you, sir. I know this is rude, but I saw all this food on your table, and I haven't eaten in 2 days. My baby needs food. If you have any leftovers that you don't want, I would be so grateful." The other people at the fancy restaurant stopped eating. They turned to stare. Some looked angry that a homeless person had dared to enter their beautiful garden. Others looked uncomfortable, like they wanted to pretend they didn't see her. A waiter rushed over, his face red with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Wellington. I'll get her out of here right away." He grabbed Sarah's arm, not gently. "Please," Sarah said, tears starting to form in her eyes. "I'm not trying to cause trouble. I'm just hungry. My baby's hungry." The waiter pulled harder. Sarah stumbled, nearly falling. And that's when Marcus Wellington did something that shocked everyone. "Stop!" he shouted, loud enough that everyone in the restaurant turned to look. The waiter froze. His hand was still gripping Sarah's arm. Marcus stood up slowly. He was tall, over 6 feet, and when he stood, he seemed to fill the space around him. His voice was calm but powerful. "Let her go, now." "But Mr. Wellington," the waiter stammered, she doesn't belong here, I said let her go." Marcus's voice was ice cold. The waiter released Sarah's arm and stepped back, confused and frightened. He had never heard Mr. Wellington speak like this before. Marcus turned to Sarah. For a long moment, he just looked at her, really looked at her. Not the way most people looked at homeless folks, with disgust or pity, or by not looking at all. He looked at her like she was a real person, because she was. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Sarah," she whispered, wiping tears from her cheek. "Sarah," Marcus repeated. "That's a beautiful name. Tell me something, Sarah. When was the last time you had a real meal? Not just leftovers, a real meal?" Sarah's lip trembled. She couldn't remember. It had been so long. Marcus nodded, like he understood. Then he did something that made everyone in that garden restaurant gasp. He pulled out the chair next to him, the nice chair with the soft cushion, the chair that probably cost more than Sarah's entire month of living expenses back when she had a home. "Please," Marcus said, gesturing to the chair. "Sit down." "What?" Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Sit down," Marcus repeated, his voice kind. "You're going to eat lunch with me, not my leftovers. A real lunch, whatever you want." The other diners started whispering. Some looked angry. How dare he let this dirty homeless woman sit in their fancy restaurant? Others looked curious. What was the famous Marcus Wellington doing? Sarah hesitated. She looked down at her dirty clothes, then at the beautiful white tablecloth. "Sir, I don't belong here. I'll make everything dirty." "Sarah," Marcus said softly, "everyone belongs somewhere, and right now you belong right here. Please sit." Slowly, carefully, Sarah sat down. She had never sat in such a comfortable chair in her entire life. Marcus snapped his fingers at the waiter, who was still standing there with his mouth open. "Bring us 2 menus, and bring them quickly." Yes, Mr. Wellington," the waiter stuttered, rushing away. Sarah looked at the table full of food. There were at least 6 different dishes: pasta with creamy sauce, grilled chicken that smelled like heaven, fresh salad with colorful vegetables, bread that was still warm. Her stomach growled so loud that Marcus could hear it. "Please," Marcus said, pushing a plate of pasta toward her. "Eat, don't wait." But, but what about the menu? "The menu is for ordering more food. This food is getting cold." "Eat." Sarah picked up a fork with trembling hands. She took a small bite of pasta, then another, then another. Soon she was eating like she hadn't eaten in years, because she basically hadn't. Marcus watched her with a sad smile. He wasn't eating anymore. He was just watching this young woman and her unborn baby finally get some food. "Slowly," he said gently. "Eat slowly, or you'll get sick. The food isn't going anywhere, I promise." Sarah forced herself to slow down. Tears were running down her face, but she didn't stop eating. The waiter came back with menus, looking nervous. Marcus didn't even open his. "Bring us one of everything on the lunch menu." "Sir? Everything?" "Did I stutter? Everything. And make it quick." "Yes, sir." The waiter rushed away again. Now the other diners weren't just whispering. They were talking out loud. Some were taking pictures with their phones. This was crazy. The famous billionaire Marcus Wellington was having lunch with a homeless pregnant woman. But Marcus didn't care. He was watching Sarah eat, and something in his heart was breaking and healing at the same time. After she had eaten enough to take the edge off her hunger, Marcus leaned forward. "Sarah, I want to know your story. How did you end up here? What happened?" Sarah put down her fork. She looked down at her hands, gathering courage. "I used to have a normal life," Sarah began, her voice quiet but steady. "I worked at a grocery store, just stocking shelves, working the register. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. I had my own small apartment. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I decorated the walls. I had plants on the windowsill. I was happy." Marcus listened without interrupting, his full attention on her. "Then I met David at a coffee shop near my apartment," Sarah continued, a sad smile crossing her face. "He seemed so different from other guys. So kind, attentive. He asked about my dreams, my family. He said he loved me after just 3 months. When I told him I was pregnant," her hand moved to her belly, protective and gentle. "I was terrified, but he said everything would be okay. He said we'd have a life together. Our baby would have a father." "But he didn't stay," Marcus said softly. Sarah shook her head, her eyes glistening. "Worse. When I told him I was really pregnant, that it was real, something in him changed. He became cold, distant. Then one day," she paused, her voice breaking, "he took everything. My savings. I had almost $3,000 saved up for the baby. My grandmother's ring, the only thing I had left of her after she died. My laptop, even money I had hidden for emergencies. He just packed a bag and left. Didn't even say goodbye." "Did you try to find him?" Marcus asked. "For weeks," Sarah whispered. "I called his number. It was disconnected. I went to his apartment. He'd already moved. His friends said they didn't know where he was. It was like he disappeared on purpose. Like I was just disposable." Marcus reached across the table and gently squeezed her hand. She didn't pull away. Sarah took a shaky breath and continued. "After he left, I tried to keep working. I really did. But the pregnancy got hard. I was nauseous all the time. My feet swelled. I had terrible pain in my back. Some days I could barely get out of bed. I kept missing shifts. My boss was understanding at first, but then..." She trailed off. "They fired you," Marcus finished gently. "They said they had to let me go because I wasn't reliable anymore. I understood, but I was terrified. Without that paycheck, I couldn't pay rent. I tried to get government assistance, but the process was so slow. By the time anything would have come through, I was already 2 months behind on rent. My landlord gave me an eviction notice." Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she remembered. "I stayed with a friend for 2 weeks, but her roommate got upset about me being there. They said I was taking up space, eating their food. My other friends, when I called them, they were suddenly too busy, too awkward. Nobody wants to be around a pregnant homeless woman. I don't blame them. But it was lonely. You became invisible, Marcus said, understanding in his eyes. Completely invisible, Sarah confirmed. Within 2 months, I went from having an apartment and a job to sleeping in parks, in doorways, anywhere that felt safe enough. I wore the same clothes every day. I stopped looking in mirrors because I didn't recognize myself. And the whole time I was pregnant, alone, terrified. Before Sarah could continue, Marcus gestured to the waiter. Before we continue, I want you to do something for me. Drop your city in the comments below. Tell us where your story is being watched from, and make sure you like and subscribe so you never miss another powerful story like Sarah's. We're about to get to the most important part, so stick around. Now let's continue. Sarah looked confused at his sudden shift, but Marcus smiled reassuringly. There's more to your story, he said. Tell me about the doctors, the clinics. Sarah nodded. I went to a free clinic once. It was terrifying. I had to wait 6 hours in a crowded room with other people who looked as desperate as I felt. I was finally called back, and they did a basic check. The doctor said the baby seemed okay, but I needed prenatal vitamins and regular checkups. I asked about cost, and she said the vitamins alone would be $50 a month. I didn't have $50. By the time they gave me paperwork and information, it was already 5 p.m. The clinic was closing. They told me to come back, but she shook her head. I never did. I was too ashamed, too scared. So you've been on the streets for how long? Marcus asked. 5 months now, Sarah whispered. 7 months pregnant, and I've been living outside for 5 months. I don't know if my baby is healthy. I don't know if something is wrong. Every day I pray, and I haven't prayed since my mother died. But every day I pray that my baby is okay. I talk to my baby, tell them stories, sing to them, try to keep them company while they're inside me. But I'm so scared, Mr. Wellington. What if something goes wrong? What if I can't take care of this baby? What if I can't even keep myself alive long enough to give birth? At that moment, the waiters arrived with trays and trays of food. Soup, salad, pasta, steak, fish, vegetables, bread, desserts. Everything on the menu, just like Marcus had ordered. They covered the table with plates until there was barely any room left. The other diners were staring with their mouths open. This was the craziest thing they had ever seen. Eat, Marcus told Sarah. Eat as much as you can, and I want you to know something. Sarah looked up at him, her eyes full of tears and hope and fear all at once. You're not alone anymore, Marcus said, his voice steady and certain. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever again. I promise you that. Sarah didn't understand what Marcus meant. How could she not be alone? This was just one meal, as amazing as it was. Tomorrow she would be back on the streets, hungry again, alone again. But Marcus Wellington wasn't finished. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Jennifer, it's Marcus. I need you to do something for me. Right now. Yes, I know it's Saturday. I don't care. This is important. He listened for a moment, then continued. I need you to book a hotel room, the presidential suite at the Grand Park Hotel. For tonight? No, not for me. For a friend. Yes, a suite. With everything. And I need you to send a doctor there. A pregnancy specialist. The best one we have. I don't care what it costs. Make it happen in the next 2 hours. Sarah's hands flew to her mouth. What are you doing? She whispered. Marcus held up one finger, still talking on the phone. And Jennifer, send someone to the hotel with clothes, women's clothes, maternity clothes, all sizes. We'll figure out what fits, and shoes and toiletries. Everything a woman would need. I said everything, Jennifer. Spare no expense. He hung up and looked at Sarah, who was now crying so hard she couldn't speak. Mr. Wellington, she finally managed to say, I don't understand. Why are you doing this? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he started his own story. 23 years ago, he began, I was in a car accident with my mother. I was 12 years old. We flipped over on the highway. The car was crushed. We were both badly hurt. Sarah listened, her eyes wide. A truck driver stopped. Marcus continued. His name was Tom. Just Tom. He pulled us out of that car. My mother wasn't breathing. Tom gave her CPR while we waited for the ambulance. He saved her life. He saved both our lives. That's amazing, Sarah whispered. When the ambulance came, Tom just left. He didn't give his name to the police. He didn't want any reward or recognition. He just saved two strangers and went on with his day. Marcus's eyes got a faraway look. My mother tried for years to find him, to thank him, to repay him. She never could. She died 5 years ago, and her biggest regret was that she never got to thank the man who saved us. I'm sorry, Sarah said softly. Before she died, Marcus went on, she made me promise something. She said, Marcus, we were given a second chance. Use your success to give other people second chances. Don't just walk by people who need help. Don't be too busy or too important. Be like Tom. Save someone. He looked directly at Sarah now, and his eyes were wet with tears. I haven't kept that promise very well, he admitted. I got rich. I got busy. I walked past homeless people every day and didn't see them. Didn't really see them. I donated to charities, sure. I wrote checks. But I didn't actually help anyone. Not really. Not the way Tom helped us. But today, Sarah started. Today I looked up, Marcus finished. Today I saw you, and I saw my mother, and I heard her voice telling me not to walk away. So I'm not walking away, Sarah. I'm going to help you, if you'll let me. But why? Sarah asked, overwhelmed. You don't know me. I'm nobody. I'm just... You're not nobody, Marcus interrupted, his voice firm. You're a woman who's going through the hardest time in her life. You're a mother who's trying to protect her baby. You're a person who deserves kindness and help. That's who you are. Sarah couldn't hold back anymore. She put her face in her hands and cried. Not sad tears this time, happy tears, grateful tears, tears of relief and hope and disbelief that this was really happening. Marcus let her cry. He understood. Sometimes you need to cry. Finally, Sarah looked up. I don't know what to say. Thank you doesn't seem like enough. Thank you is perfect, Marcus said with a smile. Now eat more. You're eating for two, remember? 3 hours later, Sarah was standing in the presidential suite of the Grand Park Hotel, and she couldn't believe this was real. The room was bigger than any apartment she had ever lived in. There was a huge bedroom with a bed that looked like a cloud, a living room with soft couches, a bathroom with a bathtub the size of a small pool. Floor-to-ceiling windows that showed the whole city, and clothes, so many clothes, maternity dresses, soft sweaters, comfortable pants, pajamas that felt like heaven, and shoes that actually fit and didn't have holes. A kind woman named Maria had helped her try everything on. Maria didn't look at her with disgust or pity. She just helped, smiling and friendly, like Sarah was any other person. Mr. Wellington said to make sure you have everything you need, Maria had said. If something doesn't fit or you don't like it, just tell me. We'll get something else. Sarah had taken the longest shower of her entire life. She washed her hair 3 times. She scrubbed away months of living on the streets. When she finally got out and looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. She looked human again, like a real person. Not just a homeless woman that people pretended not to see. There was a knock on the door. Sarah opened it carefully. A woman in professional clothes stood there with a medical bag. Hi, Sarah. I'm Dr. Chen. Mr. Wellington asked me to check on you and your baby. For the next hour, Dr. Chen examined Sarah carefully. She checked her blood pressure, listened to the baby's heartbeat with a stethoscope, did a full ultrasound with a machine that showed the baby on a screen. Your baby is strong, Dr. Chen said with a warm smile, pointing at the image. Look, see that? That's your daughter's heartbeat. It's beautiful and healthy. You're going to have a healthy baby girl. A girl, Sarah whispered, her hand on her belly, tears streaming down her face. I'm having a girl? A beautiful baby girl, Dr. Chen confirmed, due in about 8 weeks. And Sarah, I want you to know, despite everything you've been through, despite the lack of nutrition, despite the stress, your baby is thriving. You've been protecting her. Your love has been protecting her. Sarah cried harder at those words. Dr. Chen gave her prenatal vitamins, a detailed nutrition plan, and printed instructions. Mr. Wellington has arranged for you to see me every week until the baby comes. We're going to make sure you and this little one are both healthy and strong. And Sarah, You're going to be a wonderful mother." After Dr. Chen left, Sarah lay on the huge soft bed. Her belly was full, her body was clean. She was wearing comfortable clothes. She was safe and warm. But as night fell and the city lights twinkled outside her window, doubt crept in. She should have been happy, and she was, but she was also scared. What happens tomorrow? What happens after this hotel room? Would she be back on the streets again? Was this just one perfect day before everything went back to being terrible? Could she really trust that this was real? As if reading her mind, there was a knock on the door at 9 p.m. It was Marcus Wellington. "Can I come in?" Marcus asked. "Of course," Sarah said. "This is your hotel room." "No," Marcus corrected gently. "It's your hotel room, for as long as you need it." Sarah gestured for him to sit on the couch. She sat across from him, still not quite believing any of this was real. "How are you feeling?" Marcus asked. "Like I'm in a dream," Sarah admitted. "Like I'm going to wake up and be back on the street." Marcus nodded. "I understand. But this isn't a dream, Sarah, and I want to talk to you about what happens next. If that's okay?" "Okay," Sarah said nervously. "Here's what I'm thinking," Marcus began. "This hotel room is yours until your baby is born and for 2 months after. That gives you a safe place to live, to rest, to get healthy, and to bring your baby home to." Sarah's eyes went wide. "Mr. Wellington, that's too much. I can't—" Marcus held up his hand. "Please, let me finish. That's just the beginning. I've arranged for you to see Dr. Chen every week. She's one of the best pregnancy doctors in the city. When it's time for the baby to be born, you'll go to the best hospital with the best care. Everything will be taken care of." "I don't know what to say." "There's more," Marcus continued. "I've hired a lawyer, a good one. She's going to help you with some things. First, she's going to help you get child support from your ex-boyfriend. We'll find him, and he'll pay for what he did. Second, she's going to help you apply for any government assistance you qualify for. And third," he paused, making sure Sarah was listening, "she's going to help you get legal custody of your baby, properly set up, so nobody can ever take your daughter away from you." Sarah was crying again. She seemed to cry a lot these days, but these were good tears. "But here's the most important part," Marcus said, leaning forward. "I'm not just going to give you money and walk away. That's not real help. Real help is teaching you to help yourself." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. "I mean, I'm going to help you build a real life," Marcus explained. "After the baby's born and you're ready, no rush, whenever you're ready, I'm going to help you get a job. Not just any job, a good job. My company has an entry-level position that I think would be perfect for you. It comes with health care, paid time off, and a decent salary, enough to rent a real apartment and support your daughter." "But I don't have any special skill," Sarah protested. "I just worked at a grocery store." "Everyone has skills," Marcus said firmly. "You're a fighter. You're determined. You survived being homeless while pregnant. You're smart enough to ask for help when you need it. Those are valuable skills, and we'll train you for whatever else you need to know. That's what my company does. We train people and give them chances." Sarah couldn't speak. This was too much. Too good. It couldn't be real. "There's one condition," Marcus added. Sarah's heart sank. Of course there was a condition. There was always a catch. "What is it?" "You have to promise me something," Marcus said seriously. "Someday, when you're back on your feet and doing well, I want you to help someone else. The way I'm helping you, the way Tom helped my mother and me, I want you to pass it on. Deal?" Sarah looked at this billionaire who had every reason to ignore her, to walk right past her like everyone else did. Instead, he had stopped. He had listened. He had helped. "Deal," she whispered. "I promise." They shook hands. A billionaire and a homeless woman. Two people who should have never met, whose worlds should have never crossed. But they did meet, and both their lives would never be the same. The baby came on a Tuesday morning, exactly 8 weeks later. Sarah woke up in the hotel room with pains in her belly. She called Dr. Chen, who told her to go to the hospital right away. Marcus had arranged everything. A car was waiting downstairs. The hospital had her paperwork ready. She had her own private room, and Dr. Chen was there, calm and confident. You're going to do great, Dr. Chen said, holding Sarah's hand as contractions got stronger. And Sarah did do great. After 12 hours of labor, at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night, a baby girl was born. She was tiny and perfect. She had Sarah's nose and a full head of dark hair. When the nurse put her in Sarah's arms for the first time, Sarah felt a love so strong it was almost scary. "Hi, baby," Sarah whispered to her daughter. "Hi, Maya. I'm your mama. I love you so much. I'm going to take care of you, I promise. We're going to have a good life. Things are going to be okay." The baby, Maya, opened her eyes and looked at her mother. And in that moment, Sarah knew that everything she had been through, all the pain and fear and loneliness, had been worth it, because it had led her to this moment, to this perfect little person who depended on her. There was a knock on the door. A nurse opened it, and Marcus Wellington walked in. He was carrying a huge teddy bear and flowers. "I hope it's okay that I came," he said. "I wanted to meet the newest member of our family." "Our family?" Sarah asked. "Well, you're working for my company now," Marcus said with a smile. "That makes us family. Can I see her?" Sarah held up baby Maya. Marcus looked at the tiny baby, and his eyes got misty. "She's beautiful," he said softly. "Just beautiful. Hello, Maya. Welcome to the world. You have a very special mama who loves you very much." Maya made a little squeaking sound, and everyone laughed. "Thank you," Sarah said to Marcus, "for everything. I keep saying thank you, but it never feels like enough." "You're doing the hard part," Marcus replied. "Raising a baby, building a life, being a good mother. That's the real work. I just opened a door. You're the one walking through it." Sarah sat nervously at her new desk in the Wellington Tech building, her hands trembling slightly as she touched the keyboard. The computer screen glowed in front of her. Everything looked so complicated. Her supervisor, a kind woman named Rachel, sat next to her. "You okay?" Rachel asked, noticing Sarah's anxiety. "I'm terrified," Sarah admitted. "I've never done anything like this before. Everyone here probably went to fancy colleges. I worked at a grocery store." Rachel smiled warmly. "You know what? I worked at a grocery store too back in the day, and I know Marcus sees something in people. He doesn't hire people for what they have already done. He hires them for what they can become. You're going to be fine." Over the next few weeks, Sarah learned customer service protocols, how to use the company's software, how to handle customer calls and emails. It was hard, but she loved it. She was learning. She was becoming someone new. At lunch, she would rush downstairs to the company daycare center where Maya stayed. The room was bright and full of toys and happy sounds. Caregivers, actual trained professionals, watched over the babies while mothers worked. Sarah would scoop Maya into her arms, breathe in the baby scent of her daughter, and feel like the luckiest woman in the world. "How was she today?" Sarah would ask. "Perfect as always," they'd say. "She smiled at me 3 times today, Sarah. I think she's going to be a charmer." Sarah would sit with Maya for 30 minutes, feeding her, playing with her, then reluctantly hand her back to the caregivers. "Mama will be back soon, sweet girl," she'd whisper. "Mama's working so we can have our own apartment, so we can have a real home." By month 2, Sarah was handling her own customer interactions. She was good at it. She was patient, kind, and genuinely cared about solving people's problems. Her supervisor told her she was one of the best new hires they'd had. By month 3, Sarah had earned her first full paycheck. She held the check in her hands and cried. Real tears, real gratitude. She opened a bank account and started saving for an apartment. They had their own apartment now. Not huge, but it was theirs. 2 bedrooms, so Maya had her own room with pink walls and a crib and soft blankets. A kitchen where Sarah cooked meals. A living room with a couch where they cuddled and read books before bed. Every month, Sarah's paycheck went into her bank account. She paid rent. She bought food. She bought clothes and diapers and toys for Maya. She was building a life. And the best part, she wasn't alone anymore. She had made friends at work, other mothers who understood what it was like to be raising a baby on a budget. They had play dates in the park. They helped each other. They were a community. Marcus checked on her sometimes, but not too much. He didn't want her to feel like he was controlling her life. He just wanted to make sure she was okay. "You're doing great," he told her during one of his visits to her apartment. "I'm proud of you." "I couldn't have done it without you," Sarah said. "Yes, you could have," Marcus replied. Maybe it would have taken longer. Maybe it would have been harder. But you're a fighter, Sarah. You would have found a way. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon, exactly 1 year after that day in the garden restaurant. Marcus Wellington was sitting at the same table, eating lunch. But this time, he wasn't alone. Sarah sat across from him, holding baby Maya, who was now a chubby, happy 1-year-old with the biggest smile in the world. Can you believe it's been a year? Sarah asked. It feels like yesterday and like a lifetime ago at the same time, Marcus replied. I've been thinking about my promise, Sarah said. About helping someone else. Oh? I want to start a program, Sarah explained. Through your company, if you'll let me. A program that helps homeless women who are pregnant. Gives them a safe place to stay, medical care, job training. Everything you did for me, but for more women. There are so many women out there who need help, Marcus. I want to be there for them the way you were there for me. Marcus smiled, and it was the biggest, proudest smile Sarah had ever seen. I think that's a wonderful idea, he said. Let's do it. And they did. The Sarah's Hope program started 3 months later in a donated building. It had safe rooms where pregnant women could sleep, a full kitchen for meals, a medical clinic where women could see doctors for free, and a classroom where women learned job skills. But the program didn't launch with just statistics and announcements. The first woman Sarah helped was named Jessica. Jessica arrived at the Sarah's Hope program on a cold November morning, 8 months pregnant, carrying everything she owned in a plastic bag. She was terrified, alone, just like Sarah had been. When Jessica came through the doors, shaking and crying, Sarah was there waiting for her. Hi, Jessica, Sarah said gently. I'm Sarah. Welcome. You're safe now. Jessica looked at this woman who seemed to understand without even being told. How do you know I'm scared? Jessica whispered. Because I was scared too, Sarah replied. About a year ago, I was exactly where you are. Pregnant, homeless, alone. And I didn't think anyone would help me. Sarah led Jessica to a warm room with a clean bed. There were clothes waiting, maternity dresses, sweaters, shoes that actually fit. This is Sarah said, all of it. And tomorrow you'll see our doctor. We have a pregnancy specialist who's amazing. She'll check on you and your baby. Jessica started crying. Why are you doing this for me? You don't know me. Because someone did it for me, Sarah said simply. And now it's my turn to do it for you. That's how this works. That's how kindness spreads. Over the next weeks, Jessica saw Dr. Chen, the same doctor who had helped Sarah. She got proper nutrition. She slept in a safe bed. She learned about her baby's development. When her due date came, Sarah was there in the hospital room, holding her hand. You're going to be a wonderful mother, Sarah told her. I can see it. Your baby is so lucky. Jessica had a healthy baby boy. When she held him for the first time, she looked at Sarah with tears in her eyes. What happens now? Jessica asked. The same question Sarah had asked a year before. Now, Sarah said, we help you build a life. You'll see our lawyer about benefits and child support. You'll get job training. We'll find you an apartment. And when you're ready, you'll help the next woman who comes through our doors. Jessica nodded, understanding the sacred chain of help that had brought her here. Jessica wasn't the last woman Sarah helped. Over the next year, dozens of women came through the Sarah's Hope program. Each one got the same thing Sarah got: safety, medical care, job training, and a promise that their lives could be different. And each one made the same promise. Someday, when they were back on their feet, they would help someone else. That's how kindness works. It spreads. One person helps another, who helps another, who helps another. Like ripples in a pond. Marcus Wellington changed one woman's life on a sunny Saturday afternoon. That woman changed hundreds of lives. Those hundreds changed thousands more. All because one man decided to stop, to look, to see a human being instead of a homeless person, to help instead of walking away. Sometimes people ask Marcus why he did it, why he helped Sarah when he could have just given the waiter $20 and told him to give her some food. His answer is always the same. Because she wasn't asking for much, just leftovers, just the food I didn't want. And I realized that was the problem. Society gives people leftovers. Charity gives people leftovers. I didn't want to give Sarah my leftovers. I wanted to give her a seat at the table, a real seat, Not as a guest or a charity case, but as an equal, as a human being who deserved dignity and respect and a real chance. True kindness, he always adds, isn't about giving people what you don't need anymore. It's about giving people what they really need to change their lives. It's not about the leftovers, it's about the seat at the table. Sarah always says it differently when people ask her, Mr. Wellington saved my life and my daughter's life. But he didn't do it by just throwing money at the problem. He did it by seeing me, really seeing me, not as a homeless person or a problem to solve. He saw me as a person with potential, with dignity, with worth. He gave me more than money or food. He gave me hope. And hope, it turns out, is the most powerful thing you can give someone. Maya, now a happy little girl, doesn't remember any of this. She doesn't remember when her mama was homeless. She doesn't remember being born in a hospital room paid for by a billionaire stranger. All she knows is that her mama loves her, that they have a nice home, that mama goes to work every day at a company where everyone is kind, that mama helps other women who need help, just like mama needed help once. And someday, when Maya's old enough to understand, Sarah will tell her the whole story about the day she was so hungry and scared that she asked a stranger for his leftover food, about the man who gave her so much more than that, about the promise she made and kept. And Sarah will teach Maya the most important lesson she learned. We all need help sometimes. There's no shame in asking for help. And when you're strong enough, when you're back on your feet, you help someone else. That's how we make the world better. One person at a time. One act of kindness at a time. Because nobody should have to beg for leftovers. Everyone deserves a seat at the table. So what do you think about Sarah and Marcus's story? Was Marcus right to help Sarah the way he did? Should more rich people help others like this? Have you ever helped someone who really needed it? Or has someone helped you when you needed it most? Let us know what you think in the comments below. We love hearing from you. And if this story touched your heart, if it made you feel something, if it reminded you that kindness matters and that one person can make a difference, then please hit that subscribe button right now. Join our Emotional Stories family. We share amazing stories about kindness, hope, second chances, and people who change the world one good deed at a time. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a story that will warm your heart and maybe even change how you see the world. Because stories like Sarah and Marcus's remind us of something important. We're all in this together, and a little kindness can change everything. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.